Hello, and welcome to the Pixel Pitch Podcast, where we are given a year in gaming and each of us picks a game from that year for everyone else to play. I am your host, Al, and I am joined by the other hosts,
Kit
and Falana.
And we're going to go ahead and take a trip back to a year we've already gone through, but there's a reason we want to revisit it. We're going to go back to the space year of 2001, because we have a very special game that we want to play.
See, because when we did 2001, I was originally going to pitch this game, but we kind of figured we can save it for a little bit, maybe do a different Silent Hill game first if it fits in better with the schedule. But the remake, there is a remake being done by Bloober Team of Silent Hill 2, and we feel like it's a good time to kind of revisit that for the podcast. So what experience do you guys have with either this game or the Silent Hill franchise as a whole?
I know a scarce few things about Silent Hill. It's spooky, there's fog, Pyramid Head, sexy nurse ladies. That's it. That's all I got.
You hit all the nails on the head for Silent Hill 2. And what about you, Al? Because I know you and we've bonded quite a bit over
Oh yeah,
one of the later games.
I've consumed a plethora of Silent Hill media. I've played through games 1 and 2. I've played bits of 4. Although owning 3, I've never actually put it in a system and played through it yet. But it's there, and I know the story of 3. I just don't know it beat for beat yet. But yeah. I played 2 twice. I played the first one once a very long time ago, and I played bits of 4 before stopping. And I haven't played the sequels, the later games at all. Not that there's anything bad with that, but I've watched Let's Plays of those games. Yeah. Actually, I've watched multiple Let's Plays of those games.
Yeah, super best friends, rest in peace. But now we got Wooly playing them for the first time. We're blessed. But for full disclosure, for you wonderful listeners at home, Silent Hill 2 is my favorite game of the Team Silent Hill games. I really like 4 as well, but I felt like 3 would probably be a more fun experience for the podcast, which is why I kind of was like, we can skip over this one until we go back to 2001. But so I guess a little bit of information on this one. This game does not connect in directly with the first game, other than being in a different part of the town of Silent Hill. The part of Silent Hill that this takes place in, the first game is considered like old Silent Hill. This is kind of the touristy part of Silent Hill. And we follow the protagonist, James Sunderland. His wife passed away 3 years ago from a terminal illness. He received a letter in the mail from her saying to meet her in their special place in Silent Hill. So James, taking this letter from his dead wife, decides, all right, bet that seems legit, and drives to Silent Hill and enters the foggy mists, trying to figure out what's going on. Seems like a very sound decision.
It is, and it's also interesting because this is normally when we've pitched games, only one of us has played it, and the other two have kind of been like maybe aware of it to an extent, or like not played it at all. So this is like a game you and I know very intimately, you far more than I, while Falana is walking into this fairly blind.
Yep, completely blank slate. I was in upstate New York for a little while over Halloween, and it was very like dense fog, and I was just like, I want to play Silent Hill.
Yeah.
Hey, bruz.
And one of the great things about like us being in this part of the US is that it's kind of supposed to have that Stephen King-y northeastern upstate kind of vibe to the city. So like it is that kind of fog. Like I think I pointed out to you while we were up there, that is exactly what the fog is like in 2. And that's one of the reasons that like the enhanced edition, from what I understand, gets the fog density correct, like it did on the original PS2 version. One of the problems with the HD collection, which is why we shouldn't play that for this, because it doesn't give the complete experience, is because of that. The HD collection, the fog ended up being so much thinner that a lot of the kind of like scares or like uncomfortable moments just kind of evaporate because fog's not there to cover it up.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that, like, it is quite literally, this I think the first one is literally based on a town in the US. And
Mhm.
if memory serves, please correct me if I'm wrong, it's the school from Kindergarten Cop.
Yes, it is. You are
Okay.
correct.
Oh.
And then in this game, because I mentioned, so I will mention it again here. There are two movies that I would suggest to go along with the gaming experience, and those two, like there are many films and books that two specifically takes a lot of influence from. But it takes a location and a scene from the David Lynch film Blue Velvet, and then the heavy inspiration for Silent Hill as a whole is Jacob's Ladder. But the protagonist of the game of this game, James Sunderland, is slightly modeled after the protagonist from Jacob's Ladder. So it gives that extra kind of tie-in.
Ooh. Nice pairing for our video games.
Mm-hmm.
I would also say, Falana, probably play through the game first and then watch the
Yes.
films, just so it doesn't spoil
Oh,
anything.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Jacob's Ladder, there is when we come back after we played the game, there is something recently that the monster designer, who he also like worked on some of the cutscenes, he directly pinpointed a specific moment in Jacob's Ladder that was part of his inspiration for Pyramid Head. And so I'll share that when we come back to this game because it
Ooh.
will give up like the whole back end of Silent Hill 2. So don't look at Masashiro Ito's Twitter at all until after you play the game, just in case.
Okay.
He's constantly fighting with fans.
Oh
So it is
no.
not. It's a very spoiler heavy territory.
Sounds a little adversarial.
Well, no, it's because Silent Hill fans are like Resident Evil fans, where they're rarely happy. Except Silent Hill fans think that they're like incredible intellectuals because
Ah.
the game is very psychological. So people will go to Masashiro Ito and be like, oh, well, this X, Y, and Z, is this true to the game? And he'll respond with, like, as somebody that helped develop this game, no, that's not possible. To which people will then go, well, you just designed the monsters, so you don't know anything about Silent Hill. So it's that kind of arguing.
I, as an
Oh
intellectual,
Yeah,
boy.
I, as an intellectual, know more
understand
about the
what
game
you're
than
doing.
you produced.
Ugh.
But at the same time, it is nice to see somebody on the dev team go to fans and be like, listen, think what you want to think, but maybe it's not that deep. Except he doesn't say it that nicely sometimes.
Yeah.
But which partially can be language barrier, but also partially can be he's dealt with this for many years.
Yeah.
He's allowed to
Sometimes
tell
an
someone
eyeball
that, bro.
monster is just an eyeball monster, man. You got to get
Yeah.
over it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But something definitely like this game, there was so much attention to detail done with the environments, with the voice acting, with the motion capture. The facial expressions were all even though they did motion capture for the movements, the facial features were all hand animated. So there's the sound design. Akira Yamaoka was very, very specific with how he did it. He makes really effective use of silence, as well as like door closing noises. He recorded 100 different like footstep sounds to like create different moments. So like there's a lot to absorb with this game, or there can be a lot to absorb with this game.
Okay, so is this the first game we're playing that is like properly I am going to be very, very scared and I don't have a nice shotgun to help me like I did in Resi 2?
Personally, this game, there will be moments that might scare you. I think this game will more make you uncomfortable and like get in your head. So it will be spooky,
Interesting.
but more of a more psychological thriller kind of spooky.
Yeah, because I would honestly say, from playing through it a couple times at this point, I don't ever feel like I'm in any more danger than I was when I was playing Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
Which is one of the things I liked about Resident Evil 2 is it did carry the tension from beginning until Lab, at which point Lab was an action movie, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But you are always uncomfortable or in places you kind of don't want to be in.
Yeah.
And it will reinforce that by making you make decisions that you really don't want to.
Yeah. And so, while like Silent Hill 1 and 3, I will say have more scares in them, which is why I feel like 3 is a very fun experience. And I hope we will do that one day on the podcast. I would say 1 and 3 are more scary, while 2 is more emotion invoking. You feel uncomfortable, you feel unclean, you feel unhappy. Moments will make you feel claustrophobic. It's more that it preys more on making you feel uncomfortable.
It's an anxiety game, I
Yes.
think, is what
Oh.
really kind of comes out of it. The first one though, that's scary as hell.
Yeah.
Like I that is not just kind of, oh, I'm uneasy the whole time. Like that game is really genuinely terrifying.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they've ever quite captured that. I haven't played 3, so maybe they do in 3, I don't know. But like it doesn't feel like from anything else that they've really quite captured it like they did in the first one. Which was so artfully done. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I feel like that's lightning in a bottle though. Like you can't
Yeah.
just redo that again. And they made a very wise decision in the sequel to be like, well, we can't just do that again. What we got to figure out some way to like make it viable in a different formula. And I
Yeah.
think they did a great job. Like it's arguable which one of them is better.
Yeah, because and that's the thing, because like my good friend Drew, these two here know him. We will, whenever we play a Fallout game, we will have him on the podcast. He is a big fan of 1 and 3. And I will stand by 2 and 4 are my favorites, but I love 1 and 3 equally, but just in a different way. Because like for me, the itch that 1 and 3 scratch, I kind of get from Resident Evil. So that's why they're not like, oh, top, like my very, very top of my list.
Yeah.
But it is a different horror itch than 1 and 4. Because again, 1 and 4 both lean into just you're uncomfortable and you want to go home and what am I doing here? uh, and yeah, and this game, like, even when I speed run this game, because that was something that I really enjoyed doing. There are still moments where it's like, God, the most optimal strategy is sitting in this uncomfortable situation, and just dealing with it. And you can just kind of get lost in that mindset. So I'm
I mean,
excited to see what Falana you think of it your first time through.
Yeah, I'm excited to like unpack all of the psychological stuff that I hear about it.
I am really curious, especially after you watch the accompanying films, because like I've actually never seen Blue Velvet. I've seen Jacob's Ladder, but I've never seen Blue Velvet, so I'm very curious what the scene is that they've apparently taken from that film.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
Because
okay, so we've
yeah.
got the opposite. I've seen Blue Velvet, but I haven't seen Jacob's Ladder. So we're gonna
Ooh.
see how these opposing
Yeah.
points of view end up.
And again, with Blue Velvet, like any David Lynch movie fits because David Lynch is a massive influence for the dev team. Even Akira Yamaoka, this is just fun little fact that you can hear in the music as you go. He specifically cites like Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails as a huge musical influence, as well as Angelo Badalamenti, who essentially did a ton of David Lynch soundtracks. Twin Peaks, Blue Velvet, Lost Highway. I think he did Wild at Heart. He also did the soundtrack for that. And you can hear that in the way that music is approached. So really any David Lynch fits, but like because of that specific scene and because of the building, I think Blue Velvet is the one to refresh on or see for the first time.
I'm excited to
Well,
see it for the
okay.
first time.
Yeah. And then again, in Jacob's Ladder, it's one of my favorite films
Oh.
because it changed so much of the way that psychological horror was approached. And there's a lot of people that have seen plenty of things that have been influenced by it, but have not actually known that Jacob Ladder is a thing.
Yeah,
So
I like. There's one scene that I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite scenes in cinema. We'll
mhm.
get to it when we get
Yeah.
to it when we talk about it. And I don't know
Yeah.
if you know what it is, but like it's like yeah I love it so much.
I
Ooh.
think I know which one, but you can just text me a word of which scene and
Gotcha.
yeah. But
All right.
we can do that after the podcast.
All right. But I'm excited to get to play Silent Hill 2 again.
Oh,
It's always been a joy every time I've gone back to it. It's a classic for a reason, and I'm really like I want to get together and talk about it like really in depth with it fresh in our minds.
yeah.
So we will.
Well, no, I want to say one last thing. Because this game, it's a little bit. I would put it on the like typical one player experience to like shorter end of time of things. Typically, this 7 to 9 hours your very first time through if you get really lost. So it's not a super long game.
No.
Oh
Feel
wow.
free, feel free to look for second endings. There are 3 endings you can get on your first playthrough. There is a 4th one that unlocks after your first playthrough, and then there are 2 other ones that they unlock bare minimum after your first playthrough. I don't remember if it takes 2 or if it takes getting a specific one to unlock them, but there are 6 total endings. One of them connects to the original game. 2 of them are kind of goofy, but there are 4 like story-driven conclusion endings. But one of them you can't get until your second playthrough. So just throwing that out there.
Interesting.
Oh, that's
Okay.
fun.
And
Yeah.
they are dependent entirely on how you play the game, which we'll get into when we reconvene. But the first time through, try your best not to look up more than maybe like maps, because a lot of walkthroughs incidentally end up being very geared towards one specific ending. So try not to lean on walkthroughs. That's all I'll say on that.
Ooh.
Good call. All right, but we'll
All right.
reconvene when we've all watched these movies and played this game, and yeah, all right, let's go play Silent Hill 2.
Yeah, we'll see you in the fog.
Let's go.
And we're all back from Silent Hill. Some of us a little bit saner than others.
Yeah.
Woo.
I mean, I feel it could be fitting to discuss right up front. How did the ending of our Silent Hill experiences go? I left
cried.
with a waifu.
Oh no, so did I actually.
Let's go simp ending. Falana
Okay.
put the girlfriend down in cold blood. And then what happened?
I had to. And then I cried. Had a big sad.
No. So which ending did you wind up getting, Falana?
I got the in water ending.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which the
Jimmy
fun
Jam
thing-
Sunderland driving himself off the cliff.
right into the lake.
It's like, well, I know why I'm here.
Which and fun, one of those fun developers after the fact talk about. So, as we played the game, we realize hasn't been 3 years since Mary died. It's very recently she died. So recently, her body in the back of the trunk, most likely, would have to be for the rebirth ending to make sense. Because how else would he get her body there? So,
Wait,
how do
so
you guys feel
why-
about that?
Why does he think it's 3 years then?
Denial.
Oh yeah. Also, that's when
Lying
the
to himself, yeah.
disease started. So
Yeah.
that's kind of one of those things. Like, oh, she died 3 years ago from
Oh.
the disease, and it's like, oh.
I'm.
Oh, did she though?
So I guess we can kind of work back from there. What was the feeling that each of us had with James by the end of the game? Or where did you start with him and where did you end with him?
I can say that I started the game the same way, like, because I played this is like my 3rd playthrough of the game, like once in college, another time I think when the pandemic started, and and this time now, as I'm going through it, and my opinion of James is not different, like besides the first game where where he just kind of comes off as a sad sack for the vast majority of it, and that's kind of how you feel about him. He's like, oh, he's just kind of sad, and like when I was in college, my main concern was like, oh, it's just really creepy and scary, and I'm playing this in the dark on a CRTV that's smaller than my laptop. Yeah.
That is peak
Okay,
Silent Hill
so-
experience, though.
Yeah, I started out the same way, like, alright, James Sunderland, sort of sad boy blob person. Alright, that's chill. Your wife died? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. you're just wandering through this nightmare plane. How about that? Oh, wait. Oh, no. Your wife didn't die. You mercy murdered her. Oh.
Well, he mercy murdered her, kinda depending on your ending.
Oh.
Well, either
I
he does
it,
walk it
it's
back no matter what ending you get though to a bit.
yeah.
He's like I could like in one he's much more emphatic than the other. In one like I just couldn't watch you suffer anymore, honey. In the other one it's like I just didn't want to watch you go through that. Like both of them he
Yeah.
does recant a little bit. It's like no, I just couldn't do this anymore. I couldn't do it, man. It's like
Sorry, bro.
yeah.
I just yeah.
So, depending on the ending, is that one hallway where you're listening to James and Mary's conversation? Is that the same in every one? Because, like, if you listen through that entire conversation, like, I feel like the tone of it stays. Oh no, he just murdered his wife.
Yeah. It is, but that is actually one of the things that in the Maria ending, you just sprint through that and you get out that door before that recording is done.
If you
You
get
do
Yeah.
not listen to that.
yeah, if that's one of the ways to the Maria ending is to just like F it, I don't care about this conversation. Just get to the other end and not finish the dialogue going through.
Yeah.
But like that's not when that argument isn't when she dies. That's just like it's her just kind of complaining and screaming about like I'm ugly and why the hell did you bring me flowers and so on and so forth. Like that's just a memory if I remember correctly. Like we see when the deed is done on the video and it's
No, yeah, but what I'm saying here is, right, it starts off with her like, you know, feeling really sorry for herself. Oh, I'm so ugly. You shouldn't have to go through this, yada yada. But if you stick around to the end of the conversation, she's like, "No, I don't want to die. Don't leave me."
Yeah.
yeah.
Which just definitely, again, it paints him really poorly. It's hard to talk yourself back from, I don't want to die, I love you, don't leave me. And it's, shortly thereafter, he's like, it's time for bed. Let me get the pillow.
But yeah, so I think you and I got the same one, Kit, where
Yeah.
we got
I
the Maria ending, which I never gotten before, but I got the Maria
always
ending this time.
so I've played this game many times. Yeah, the very very first time I played this game, I got the Leave ending. The second time I played this game, I got the Maria ending because I felt very compelled by her character. I thought she was fascinating, and I very much after my first playthrough, I saw her as a direct foil for Pyramid Head, and I was like, I want to see if like protecting her, going like taking care of her changes things, and I was very pleased with that ending. Because Al, how do you interpret the Maria ending?
The way I interpret it is well, first off, I'm not really sure because it's very clear in any other ending you get, Maria is the final boss.
Yeah, and in the Maria ending, Mary is the final boss.
Which
Or
doesn't
it's
make
supposed
sense,
to
but
be
she is
directly.
dead. So you couldn't fight her per se, so it does bring into question who you fighting.
Well, I mean, you're fighting the ultimate, like it's Silent Hill is like we sent Maria to be this thing to like psychologically torment you, and you want a bone. How can we roll this back?
Yeah.
How you roll
What if I make it your real wife screaming at you like you harlot?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because you see her at the end on the thing and he's like, "No, let's just leave. Let's go." And it's that line though when they leave and he deadpan delivers that, "You better take care of that cough."
Right?
Like it's
Oh.
half a threat
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned. It's like, "Bitch, you better not be getting sick or I'm going to leave you here."
Yeah. The way that I always kind of like have interpreted that is that James went to Silent Hill to learn a lesson, and he left going, nah. And he essentially could repeat that exact same cycle again. Like he didn't really learn his lesson.
he
And
learned the wrong lesson.
The wrong
Yeah.
lesson. Get pretty girl.
Yeah.
Get pretty girl. Oh, she's sick? She looked like wife that died? Pillow still looking pretty good. So
But like,
for
I thought that girl was bad news at first sight. I'm like,
yeah,
nah, leopard print skirt, nah, it's sus.
Yeah, she's extremely suspect. Like, there's everything about her is sending off every warning sign you have as a video game player, or even just like a media player. You go ahead there and you see her, and she looks like the dead wife, except hot, I guess.
yeah,
And so it's like, all right, this is not right. This
titties
ain't kosher.
out, bright red.
Yeah, and there's something very, but she doesn't act super suspect throughout the majority of your time with her. Like when you meet her in the park to getting to the hospital, most of the time she acts fairly human, or at least no less weird than any of the other humans you've met in Silent Hill to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Oh, and we'll
fair.
get to
Fair
them.
point.
Yeah. But so then what was the overall interpretation that like you had? Because you're saying, Falana, that you found her very sus. So what was the kind of interpretation you had of her as the game went on, as you got to the ending?
Okay, so initially I'm like, yeah, she's another figment of Silent Hill's futzing around. Like, she's not actually like a real person. She's like a whatever's going on funky here, she's part of it. As the game went on, I'm like, yeah, I think that's valid. All right, end of the game, she's final boss. She's hanging upside down, and you have to put her down while she's still like tonelessly repeating your name. Yeah, all right, that all checks. And then
Which I
I
mean,
went and played Born from a Wish.
yeah.
And in Born from a Wish, you have to play as her as she's waking up in Silent Hill. And she's behaving like she's a fully autonomous being. And it's like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
She gets like flashes of like memories. She's like, huh, I recognize this name. Laura. Why do I want to meet with Laura? James. I want to meet James. And she's like being very helpful to a ghost in a haunted house who was only a ghost because the devs didn't have time to make a new character model. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I mean
they
that's fair.
had to tell this little story about Maria to confuse everybody about what her purpose was in this story.
Yeah.
Because one of the fan theories, and this kind of goes in with something that's kind of an Easter egg in Silent Hill 3, is that Born from a Wish infers that Maria, in some capacity, could be somebody from Silent Hill, like an actual, working woman from Heaven's Night, who was kind of pulled into and manipulated and kind of like used as a vessel for the town to do their shenanigans. Because in Silent Hill 3, if you have a Silent Hill 2 save file on your memory card, at least for the PlayStation versions, and you go to the Heaven's Knights Club in Silent Hill 3, you will see a poster on the ground that shows a brunette woman, a dancer, that says The Return of Lady Maria. So there is some dev somewhere thought they were doing something, but it kind of
Oh.
it conflates and confuses and adds this extra layer of like just theory crafting and thinking about like what is going on in Silent Hill. Whether or not you feel that's effective to your experience is up to you. You can consider it canon, you can not consider it canon, but it's Born from a Wish is a fun little, it's an interesting little thing the devs decided to do for the greatest hits version.
Yeah, it certainly is. Like, it sets such a different tone for that character, because if you don't
Mhm.
know that she has a story beforehand, then it does just kind of seem like the antagonist is just hanging around you, pretending to be a sycophant the entire time.
Yeah.
And they're the one that's actually torturing you all along.
Yeah.
It's not Pyramid Head. It's
Yeah.
not this like she's been doing
Yeah.
it. And then
Yeah.
you
I
get
find that so fascinating. I loved that about the way that I interpreted her.
Yeah, it's like
yeah,
very convenient that she's just hanging out where James Sunderland thinks their special place is.
Mm-hmm. And she's just waiting, and just
She's just
immediately
hanging
hits him with
out.
the you're gonna leave me here with all these monsters, when she's the first person that kind of validated that, oh, your monsters are real, I see them too, wink wink, nudge nudge.
Because we've seen Angela and Eddie at that point. Angela has just been kind of depressy for like that's kind of been it. She's been weird. She's
Oh,
not.
she's upsetty spaghetti,
Yeah,
if you will.
a
A
little
little
bit.
knifey wifey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah. Just a little bit. And Eddie, when we meet Eddie, like, man, he's like, oh god, dead guy, that's messed up, and like he's having his time over in the bathroom,
Yeah,
and
big old bad time.
yeah, big old bad time. And
Yeah.
we do see him mention like those, like, the monsters or things are bad or what the hell's going on with this town. I don't know.
But like he still just looks like a lost frat bro for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
like,
what
like he
were
stepped out of a party and got misplaced.
Yeah. Alright. But so then, and as we go through Silent Hill, we don't get well, in a way, we get to see what Angela's might have looked like a little bit.
Yeah.
And in a way, kind of, you could perceive parts of the person as being a little more like what Eddie's probably looked like. So what were your interpretations of kind of this walking alongside two other people going through Silent Hill? Like, what did you guys think of Angela and Eddie?
Well, I think Angela's is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Because we get that very famous line of like, "Oh, you see it too? This is how it is for me all the time." It's just like, this
Yeah.
is
Mhm.
that, like, we like, and we do see her pyramid head,
Yeah.
and we have to put it
Yeah.
down.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think we know what's going on with her the most. Like
Yeah.
Eddie, we have a pretty good idea,
For
but as far as
sure.
what her environment looks like, we walk into it, and we
Yeah.
we know what her trauma is. We know what she's here for. She feels bad for standing up for herself, for lack of a better term,
Mhm.
because, like, she's ingrained it in her head because of what her parents have told her, that her abuse was something that she deserved to have happen to her.
Yeah. And so while she's here, for murder in a similar way, while we as the viewer may look at that and be like, "Why do you feel guilty? That was you did the thing you had to do." Uh Her experience kind of ends with she can't survive that guilt. And depending on the ending you get, very in line with like the ending you got, Falana, she kind of decides like, nah, that's I deserve to suffer. I deserve, to take the bad route. And that's actually for the in water ending. One of the things you have to do is look at that knife long enough. If you examine that knife, I think it might be even once, but the longer you look at that knife and you mess around with that knife, the higher your chances are of that in water ending.
Interesting. Do the other endings show different outcomes for Angela?
No.
Because like all I got was that like end scene of, for me it's always like this.
Yeah, and then she
And
disappears
she
up
just
the
walks away. Yeah.
stairs,
Into
never to be seen
flames.
again. Yeah.
I
And I
think
real
that's pretty. I mean, I want to believe that, like, her story continues in a way, and we didn't get to see the ending of it, which,
Yeah.
it is ambiguous enough that we can think that. But she seems pretty resigned to. Whatever this thing has in store for me, I'm kind of just gonna go with it. Like, whatever, I'll die here. It's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we never
Uh,
do give her back that knife.
yeah.
No.
But I mean, it if there is a well, unfortunately, in Silent Hill, there is a way.
There's a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then on the opposite end of the spectrum, somebody that could be read as being there for kind of innocuous reasons, then just fucking goes, I can kill here. Let me do more of that. Eddie, what are your thoughts on that?
I think Eddie is the example. Like I think like Angela is the example of the in water ending. Like this is one way things can turn out. Eddie is the like I've learned the wrong lesson here today.
Yeah. Murder is pretty cool. Just put the gun to their head. Pow.
Yeah.
Like, dude goes that. I don't know what was in that pizza, but by God.
He was just macking on that murder pizza.
Because he goes from 0 to 100. Like, I mean, obviously some terrible crap happens to this guy into the interim, where
Yeah.
like he goes from like one of the greatest scenes in all of Silent Hill's history, where Eddie's eating pizza in a Bolorama, and James goes, "How can you sit there and eat pizza? There's monsters everywhere."
Yeah. Chef's kiss.
Yep.
Yeah.
But he goes from like this kid who's genuinely quite afraid of what's going on and feels very bad for what he did. To like, wait,
Does he feel bad for what he did? Because he starts off
seems
with, "I didn't do
afraid.
it. I didn't do anything."
Yeah. He seems afraid of the consequences of what he did. And I think I definitely agree that you can see a form of guilt, but I don't think it's necessarily for what he did. It's maybe guilt that it happened, that he got
Yeah.
caught.
I think it's not so
He
much.
don't want to get caught.
Yeah, I think guilt is probably the wrong word. You can see he's afraid. Like, not just
Yeah.
that he's afraid of the consequences. He does the things that he does, like, or the reasons why he did what he did seem to be because he was afraid. Like, it's like, oh, I was afraid of the dog. I was afraid of this guy who came after me, so I shot him in the leg. And then I was afraid of the consequences, so I ran away from that. So Eddie, instead of realizing, like, of facing consequences and learning to be brave in one aspect, has learned that no, wait, hold on a minute. I gotta stand up for myself with this revolver.
Yeah, murder's okay. It's all right, kids. Thumbs up. As long as
No,
I
yeah, he
am the
was
one
mean
do the
to me.
murder.
Shooty shoots.
Yeah.
See, his boss battle was very impactful for me the first time I saw it for a couple of reasons. The primary one being, this is just a guy. We are just two human dudes in a gunfight in Silent Hill. And second of all, when you kill him, James goes, "Oh my, I just killed a person."
Yeah, no,
Like,
doesn't he say, "I killed a real person"?
yeah.
I took a human life.
It's like, I mean, yeah. What did you think was gonna happen when you're in a
Yeah.
gunfight
Yeah.
with
You
the
shot him,
dude trying
buddy.
to shoot you?
But
James,
I
you're
do
a little too detached right now.
I do think there's a weird element to it because like it is just two guys. Like it starts as two guys in an enclosed space shooting each other in the face,
Yeah.
and like neither of them
Yeah.
going down. So like
Yeah.
as much as I enjoy like that the idea of, oh, there's just one of the people here is just going to be a bad guy, and we got to put him down. It's a shame to say I don't think the game is particularly made for that boss fight. So it wound up being a little awkward. When we get into the meat locker, it's a little better.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But when it's kind of like it it's one of those things where I look forward to seeing how that scene, like, they change it and make it play out for the remake.
Yeah.
Because whenever I think of that, I think of like some of the scenes in Resident Evil 4 with like with just some of the goofiness of that. Like, this kind of comes off a little goofy when you start firing at each other, like pow pow pow, and then he runs into the other room, and then you're like, okay, this feels more natural. Could we have just led with this, please?
Yeah, there
Yeah.
wasn't much of a reason for that first room because it does sort of defeat a lot of the tension you just had. That like you could have that dialogue scene and then have him run to the next room. When the dialogue's over, James goes in, and then you have the following dialogue scene, and then the gunfight happens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As opposed
start off
to
in the meat locker.
Yeah, as opposed to standing in two grown men in front of each other shooting at with shotguns.
Or just like I can just imagine them just slapping each other, just sort of
Yeah.
uselessly,
See, honest,
back and
if it was a
forth.
slapping fight to start, like a fist fight, a slap fight, and then Eddie's like, "I'm done with this," and then he pulls out his revolver, that would have worked better.
Yeah. But it is an interesting character because it also sort of preys on a little bit of that video game mentality of just, well, I'm showing up in here and I'm mowing stuff down. I'm like, he does feel like one of those guys that's just kind of like, yeah, in a town full of monsters and guns, pow 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 pow.
Well, the essence of the town is like, bro, you missed the point.
Listen,
Send
several
him back.
points over here.
But my question
Yeah.
is like what do we think the ambivalent message, like, does the town care if you learn anything out of this, or is it just kind of like acting on what psychic energy you bring to the table, and what kind of happens and what you take away from it is, it's ambivalent to it, because it does seem like it's trying to push James in a certain direction where it's like, hey, we want you to realize what you did and like come to terms with that.
But we are gonna tempt you. We're gonna tempt you to make the wrong choice just a little bit.
Yeah.
And you really gotta, if you want to take that temptation, you do really gotta work for that temptation.
Meanwhile, I feel like with Angela, like, I don't feel like there was much. What lesson were you going to teach her? Like, what were you like? This just felt like,
No.
let's just re-traumatize her a few more times, until she feels bad enough to get to do the deed, I guess. Like that. I don't feel like what is she going to learn out of this? It's really weird. And with Eddie, I don't know. I because we don't see much of Eddie's Silent Hill. We get a great idea of what Angela is like.
Yeah.
Eddie,
Yeah.
like, shoot 'em up, bang bangs.
But I will say we may see flickers of Angela's, but that doesn't mean we see the message. Because the message of hers could have been anything from trying to expose her to, the trauma to learn that maybe she wasn't guilty, or it could have been trying to make her feel more guilty. Because we don't know
Yeah.
what it was pushing her towards, or Eddie, because the town could have been pushing him towards, you're guilty, you're a bad person, and that's how he fell down that rabbit hole. But it also could have been like, bro, you fucked up, but like, it's okay. And he still was like, but what if I murder though?
Yeah. And there has to be a reason why James is subtly led in and out of their environments periodically. Because both of them are somewhat have to deal with his own trauma and his own stuff. And B, I'm assuming because, like, all right, she ain't getting it. Let's have James show up.
Yeah. So it's kind of related to James's Silent Hill. There is a character we have not spoken about. She is near and dear to my heart, Laura.
Oh.
I love
All right.
that little brat. She is so early 2000s, that like Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, like mean to their parents child, and I love her for it. What do you guys think?
I'm kind of sad we didn't see her eat it.
Oh. Oh.
Al's over here like, yeah, weren't you terminally ill too, child? You need the pillow? James got one right here.
Meanwhile, Laura's like, yeah. Laura's like, yeah, the feeling's mutual. Bitch, I'm just gonna lock the door on you for a little bit. Okay, bye.
Imagine. Okay, so the leave ending, James leaves with Laura. Imagine if the leave ending, James was like, okay, let's get out of here. And she fucking tripped him and stole his car keys and left.
There you go, yeah.
Like, just hot wired.
Wait, there's
like,
an ending where
that
you
is the
leave with Laura?
personality.
Yeah, okay. So the leave ending.
My leave endings have always just been James walking out of the graveyard and being like, I'm peace. And like, I never remember Laura there.
I thought, yeah. Don't you see Laura skipping along?
Maybe that's a different ending. I don't know. Not in the ones I've gotten before. But again, I haven't gotten the leave ending in I got it last year or 2 years ago. I feel like I remember him just walking away.
I had to double check because I'm like, wait, am I crazy? But no, yeah, she walks out in the end.
Oh, never mind. Yeah. All right, never mind. I completely missed that. I every time I remember getting that, I remember James just walking out on his own, with no company. But that's really weird, like that he would walk out with her, because like how does she like all of a sudden okay herself with
Yeah.
BT dubs, I killed your mother figure, I'm very sorry, Laura. Like it's like, hey, does he have a sit down where it's like, listen, she wanted to go. Like does he have to lie to her in order to get her to go, I guess? I don't know. Yeah. All I know is that you and I abandoned her.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
we abandoned her for a beautiful woman,
Yeah.
a working gal.
Yeah.
God, I love Maria.
Yeah.
Because she's so, yeah, I find her character so compelling because again, everybody talks about Pyramid Head, but doesn't. But for me, like again, I think Maria is just as important to James's potential downfall and or learning of guilt. Like they are equally important to that. It is not just Pyramid Head. Maria is such an integral part of the town tormenting him and testing him.
Yeah, because it has to
Kind of
kill
like a
her
carrot
over and
and
over
stick
again.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what were everyone's and we still have a couple of very big parts of this to dissect.
Oh yeah, we haven't
But
talked about like the big middle parts of the game, which
yeah.
Oh yeah.
But so this is considered, one of the greatest. A lot of people call it one of the greatest horror games, ever. What kind of feelings did you have with this game? Like, was this a scary game for you, and if it wasn't, what was it?
So I had a complicated like playthrough experience. It was very up and down, right? I had a really hard time getting through the initial apartment buildings, the apartment building dungeons that you have to go to, because just going through the empty Silent Hill and going through those empty dilapidated buildings, I got so freaked out. I was just like sort of constantly like tensed up. Just, oh boy, okay, turning around. I can hear a monster in the distance. All of these doors are locked. Oh gosh, I have to go stop playing this game for a little bit.
So were you more scared or tense? Or
I think
both? Like a
tense.
good. Okay.
It's just this game is atmosphere the game. Like just every aspect of it, from the fog all around you, all of the sound design. The sound design is brilliant, especially once you get the little radio and you just hear it crackling and you know there's something coming towards you. Oh, I just love the atmosphere of this game.
And honestly, one of the biggest moments where like it really sunk in for me, and it sinks in for me every playthrough, is that butterfly room and the audio that plays specifically in that room, in the first apartment complex.
Yep.
It's because you feel like, oh, something is in here and stomping towards me. Oh wait, no. But something's got to be in here, right? That's too hardcore for there not to be anything in here, right?
Yeah. Or some of the completely empty rooms in that apartment building. Just all of a sudden, the music will go hard. There's nothing there, but you think there is.
Mm-hmm.
And you are going to stress out every second you're in that room.
Yep. So then, what about you, Al? What feeling do you have? Did you feel scared with your first experience, or did you have a similar like tense,
Going
uncomfortable?
way back to being in college and playing the game for the first time, I definitely felt mostly just uncomfortable. The game never at any point was scary. It just felt mostly unpleasant, and not in a way. It's in a way that's. It was unpleasant in a way that's very hard to describe. But I think Falana got it pretty well. I don't know if I agree with everything about that, about like necessarily the like, because I felt very safe. Uh, Again, this is going back into college. I felt very safe once I was in the apartments, as opposed to being out in the town. For whatever reason, that was the most anxiety inducing, just running around the town, and not like, that was always just like, I just want to be in a place. I just want to be in a place. I just want to be in a place. And when you get to the
Yeah.
apartments, it feels pretty solid. Like, okay, I'm walking through this, and not knowing when Pyramid Head is going to show up or if he will. Like after you see him in that one appearance where you see him through the bars, it's like, ooh. So that's a little bit scary. But this playthrough was very different than my previous ones. As when walking in, and I will say I played this on my PS2 again. I didn't go out and
Yeah.
get the enhanced edition or play a different version of it. Bit of a mistake because I keep forgetting not to play PlayStation 2 games on an HD TV. The gamma is always going to be off, and I keep forgetting that. So the dark rooms are going to be even darker.
Yeah.
But I you know, I turned the brightness up as much as I could, but it doesn't necessarily help. But I forgot, and I'm gonna eventually have
Yeah,
to.
I had the same struggle.
Yeah, right. You
Oh
just
no.
forget that that's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I went through it, and instead of feeling that sense of anxiety, and I don't know if this is that it's the third time I've gone through the game or whatnot, but the town, instead of being this very overarching, very anxiety-inducing thing, became this exercise in tedium that like didn't age well with me. Where I was like walking around, like there's nothing to really find. Like there's no nooks and crannies in here that will give me anything that's not just another health drink or like a first aid kit or something. And I was once again looking for a place to be, but I think when I played it in college, a lot of that anxiety came from reputation. So I think the veneer kind of faded away a little bit over the years, where I kind of got in and played it just as it was. And the town segments just don't kind of fade away towards the end of the game, which is interesting because I would have. It's weird, just as I was starting to like them, because when the town is at nighttime, that's awesome. It's not
Yeah.
like it doesn't fill me with this sense of anxiety. It fills me with this anticipation because the nurses are walking around now. So it's just this like, and it's dark and it's not foggy. It's like, yeah, all right, we're in it now. So I was like really excited.
Yeah.
Just kind of like start like, all right, we're walking around. There's the creepy things that are underneath the tunnel, and it's like, oh, this is so cool.
And
Oh,
then you're
that's
not there for very
interesting.
long. Yeah.
No, you're not. Yeah, and then you don't go back, which is really kind of
Yeah.
sad.
See, because my
Yeah.
my experience with it, like it was always very, very tense for me until it kind of became and I know this is gonna sound weird. When I was dealing a lot with like PTSD and depression, this game kind of became like the game that I just played a lot because it was a healthy way to feel tense and stressed out. And eventually it just kinda the dam just kind of broke, and it those opening segment or those opening bits in the town when the town is still foggy are kind of chill, and I in a way you could say kind of comforting. The kind of music that plays, like I love the music that plays, especially after you find Maria. Pretty much from when you find her through Heaven's Night, all of that music is kind of my favorite in the game.
Yeah,
And it's kind of like this evil, that you can just kind of wander in and get lost in that feeling. Um but when I initially played it, I had the same experience of people said, "Oh, it's the scariest thing ever." And so I was tense the whole time because, like, what's going to happen next? What's going to jump out at me? And that tension did kind of stay for my first, I'd say, easily like 3 or 4 playthroughs.
Because when I first played this, the initial going through the town, I was using the map and just like poking at all of the different like marked locations. Like, can I go to the flower shop? Can I check out the pizza parlor?
Happy Burger.
And I'm just Happy Burger. I can be Happy Burger. I can go Bowl-O-Rama. Oh, good. I can go Bowl-O-Rama. Thank God.
Yeah.
except Maria won't go in there. It's like I hate bowling.
She fucking hates bowling.
Not going in there.
I didn't come here to bowl.
Ugh.
Okay, so do we want to get a bit into, because we talked a bit about the town, about the vibe. We've touched a bit on the sound design. So do we want to talk about the music?
I think so. It's very intense throughout the entirety of the game, and it's a lot of it's so lack of a term, very easy listening, very like, oh man, this is just as beautiful. If I wasn't in a very horrific place, I'd probably be really jamming with this.
The Heaven's Night is such a jam, I think, because at that point you're kind of looking for a little comfort, and it is so
Yeah.
easy listening, and you can just vibe in there for as long as you want. But then if you step outside, you can't go back. So you can't go back to that easy listening because it has that kind of safe room feel, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it has heaven in the name, so let's vibe for a little bit.
Yeah.
The safest place in the town is the strip club.
Of course. Why wouldn't it be?
Yep.
You get a first aid kit in there for Pete's sake. Come
Yeah.
on.
There you go.
Yeah.
But okay.
Were there any particular parts of the game that like the music really resonated with one of you?
I would say I hate to skip to this to the ending again, but I feel like the ending theme, no matter which way you get it, like that always hits really hard. Like, and
Yeah.
and there's more than one
Yeah.
song that you can get on those, but I feel like no matter which one it is, they always kind of feel very like, I feel like they just hit the emotions really well, except for the dog one, which is funny, but you know.
Dog ending is the best one. What are you talking about, Al?
Dog ending is best
Yeah.
ending.
Oh yeah, because so Lana, each ending has a different song.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, each one has a
So you get
different.
a
I feel
special dog
appropriate.
song.
Yes, you do.
Oh.
That he barks for you, like that's the
Yeah, and
Aw.
you get little, goofy bloopers in the credits. It's delightful.
it's very cute. Yeah.
Okay, so I played this game through twice, plus Born from a Wish. Gonna have to play it in extra time, just for chill doggo end theme.
Oh, did you get the in water ending both times?
I got the in water my first time. Second time I went for Rebirth.
Rebirth. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Which
That's
I
really
like the
cool.
concept of the rebirth ending because
It's-
it's you really didn't learn your lesson, James.
Yeah.
Holy shit, James! What are you
Nope.
doing? Back
It-
up.
It is not about letting things go. It like, and just the way like the old gods still hold sway here as long as you venerate them. It's like, where did you learn this? Like because you
James,
pick
where
up.
are all these relics coming from?
Yeah, James,
Yeah.
what the hell?
It's like, sorry to wake you, honey. Just kind of like, all right, we'll grab the body, go over to this other island, I guess, and just let's see if we can bring our wife back through magic.
Yeah.
James Sunderland made a mistake. He's gonna try and fix it, I guess.
Yeah.
By making a bigger mistake, maybe.
We don't really know how that goes.
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah.
It could be Pet Cemetery, or the town might allow it.
It
We
might,
don't
like, we don't because it's really weird. Like we go to Silent Hill, we talk about that because Silent Hill has said like, all right, here's a baby, and like she's fine, she's just a baby. That's it. You're okay. You can take her home. She's your daughter now. It's fine. So like the idea of like bring the wife back or take the girlfriend home doesn't seem so far fetched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Theoretically, it could be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, theoretically, you just have to appease the old gods.
I don't know what James did to get a smoking hot girlfriend, but to go home with him. But like, whatever. I guess he. Who knows?
Well, I mean, we know what he did, but is that worth the cost of the price of admission?
I mean, we never found out. So. But yeah, I'm sorry. We did derail a little bit. Flan, what was your favorite part as far as like the songs or music or sounds go?
Musically, what resonated with you?
Honestly, I just got so happy being able to just go into the Bolorama.
Because the Bolorama is probably like Heaven's Night and the music in Bolorama, two incredible tracks for just that safe room vibes. You feel safe when you are there
because there's pizza.
Yeah.
The dollars to donuts, the most comforting food human. Damn it, dollars to donuts, the most comforting human food you could ever have.
Pizza.
No, yeah, and I went in there just to sort of scope it out and see if I could go in there, and when it was like, yes, you actually can, I'm like, Oh my god. It's incredible. This is a little treat just for me.
Yeah. And I love to just talk a little bit about some sound design. I love the way that the conversation between Eddie and Laura sounds when you're in that hallway before you go into the bowling alley.
Yeah.
Just it feels good on the ears. It feels like you're eavesdropping. Oh, sounds good.
It does. It's there's a lot about like I feel like I unfortunately skipped over Laura a little too much, but like we should say a little bit about her, which is where her character is. Like she is important to the plot. She isn't just some random girl that shows up in Silent Hill. She did know Mary. There
Mhm.
were plans for the two of you to adopt her. Apparently, James was not aware of this.
Yeah.
But like as much as that's kind of endearing, and like she was, a sick kid with a mother figure, it's like, God, could you not do anything that's horrible for like a solid minute?
She was okay by the end of it when you see her in the little piano room.
Yeah, I guess.
Oh,
I
I
guess.
guess.
when she gives you the letter.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
would be great if she stopped losing
Yeah.
things.
She's a little kid.
Or she locked you in the boss fight room, which
She didn't know there was a monster with a foot fetish in there.
I mean, that's pretty fair. But like that is when things go really like pear shaped. Because that's when the other world comes in, is when
Mhm.
is after that boss fight, and it's things don't get much better after that. Very interesting, because unlike with the first game, where the other world features prominently as an on and off kind of, not something you activate. That wasn't until Origins. Bleh. But
Yeah.
yeah, not
They were
something you.
trying something new.
They were.
It's
I
a
mean,
whole other beast.
yeah, I get the idea behind it, but like in 2, it's far less like obvious when like it's obvious at one time when things change like that.
Yeah.
And then you're not clear afterwards. For all I know, walking around walking around in the town, it's just nighttime.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure if I'm in the other world. And then when you get to the prison and you come out the other end, it's foggy again, but it's like, I don't know. I don't know when, but no, it happens again in the hotel, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it
happens,
does.
yeah, and then the hotel, but it's not your traditional, like, bloody gore kind of otherworld, it's wet,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
like the
it's
wet
yeah,
and
hotel's
like
it's
underwater.
uncomfortable, yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
it's like wet, but also like half part of it's burnt out almost.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it was burnt out and then it got flooded kind of a
Yeah.
deal, so yeah, which I like it a lot because and as we continue, if we get to other Silent Hill games, a lot of them try to recapture, and a lot of horror games in general,
Yeah.
especially indie games, kind of try to capture the magic that is Silent Hill 2, but then with those more visual themes from 1 and 3. And it always is kind of like this weird, like you're trying to hit the greatest hits without realizing what it was that made things in 2 work, and then individually things in 1 and 3 work. Um, and I think one of the greatest showings of that is I've never seen anything try to capture that feeling of the pre-revelation and the post-revelation in that hotel, because that there is such a shift in that difference in that experience, and it's one of my favorite bits of the game because it is when you're playing it, it feels like such a contrast, even if looking at it quickly you might not notice it.
God, yeah. I think my favorite part of the game itself was just going into that final hotel room. And like you walk into the room, the mirror is covered over with a sheet the way it would be if somebody had died in there. And you sit down and you have to learn the truth.
Mhm.
So I think this is an important thing to ask. How did we all react to that? Like, I'm going to be honest, it's going to be really hard to recall my memories of that time. And
I
but like,
remember exactly what my reaction was,
you
which was
guys
I
Whoa.
fucking knew it. I
go.
knew I didn't like James. And that yeah, I knew there was something sketch about this guy because I was playing it when I finished it. I was playing it with my friend who is the big Silent Hill fan who lent me the game, and
Yep.
she made me wait. When I got to the hotel, she made me wait until I was with her to finish playing the game near her, and she thought it was the funniest thing, and it became like a verbal copy pasta among our friends.
I knew he wasn't no good.
I knew he sucked.
No, I had no idea it was gonna turn out like that. I was like, oh, James. All right.
I will be perfectly honest, because I want to say that on my first playthrough, I even like, it's weird because like you see the video and then immediately James is like telling Laura like, I killed her, man, like that's what happened. But for whatever reason, in my mind's eye, I just didn't take it that way when I first played it. Like, I don't know why. I don't know what I was thinking. I was kind of like, oh, that's weird. And then just kind of like, and him immediately being like, no, I murdered her, to Laura, like out and outright confessing about it. And I had to have someone else explain it to me later. Be like, no, he killed his wife. Like, did he? I thought this was like a weird, like, thing where outside of himself or whatever it was like, I forgot that that's what happened. So I went through the rest of the game like just really confused. It wasn't until later when I'm just like, I don't know if I was just really thick or if I was playing the game while I was stoned. It was college, so I don't like, it's weird to miss big giant plot beats like that while you're going through it. Like, this has actually happened once before. I was watching Avatar The Last Airbender. I was like going through that, and then I don't know if I just brain farted out of the room whenever the Katara and Aang relationship was because when they kissed at the end of the series, I was like, what? They didn't set that up at all. That's really weird. Why are they making out? What? I didn't know that was a thing.
Because for me, I think part of the reason I kind of pieced it together was very, very early on, like when you first get the radio, you can kind of they barely censor the "why did you kill me" that Mary says, and I caught the "why did you me" like solidly, and that stuck in my head. And as we were going through, there's the Walter stuff about murdering, and then the "oh, it wasn't me." Like, I thought there was a theme of, was somebody murdered? Wasn't somebody murdered? And yeah, and I really kind of honed in on, is there a murder plot going on here? This is a little weird. Why is
Yep.
Maria suddenly getting sick? Why, when you go back into her room, does it sound, like she's on life support or like breathing support? Like,
Yeah, if you visit the room in the other
that
world,
she's sick? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I thought
confused
there
when
was something
Eddie was
sketchy.
saying- Yeah, I was confused when Eddie was saying, "Oh, we got something in common. You and me, we're the same type." I'm like, "What do you mean?"
Yeah, everyone seems to have that little bit about them. Like, Angela's like, I know what you did. Like, just leave me alone. Like, it's weird. It's weird because like, it's especially because like after the fact when you're going through the rest of the hotel, because that is such a stinger that you do have to continue to sit through and play the game with. It's not something you find out at the very end, maybe in the last level, but you still got to go through a decent chunk of the game at that point to still get to the ending or desire to do so. And I it's weird. I want to say, like, because I think it's pretty clear, Kit, you're like, hey, you know what, he's a POS. Like, you killed your wife, F off, buddy. Which is a fair take, I think, actually. But I'm also sitting there going like, I mean, I have to try and identify with this guy in some capacity. I'm playing the game as him. How do I get through this and like still believe in him as the protagonist of the story? And I'm like, because it does seem like even at the end, like Mary is telling him like, you got to live for yourself, bro. You got to go out there. This is from here on out. You put up with so much. It's got to be about you. But like, that was written before he killed you, though. So how valid is this?
Yeah. And see, and that, because like I did, like, because it didn't stop me from wanting to play the rest of the game. I was like, okay, what are you gonna do with this information now, homie? Where are we going? So I was very interested in seeing how the rest of the game went. Um,
Yeah, I actually love
and
that they
it
make you sit through with it.
yeah,
Just
you
sit with the
have to
information
continue
for a
from
while.
here.
Yep.
But I did because I did play the original Silent Hill, and I didn't do this on my last playthrough. I should have, just to fact check, but I believe Silent Hill 2, and I believe I did this when I first did the final boss battle. In the original Silent Hill, if you are completely out of all of your gun ammo by the final boss, the boss essentially just dies when you load in. And I believe Silent Hill 2 does the same thing, because I was like, when I first loaded into it, for whatever reason I did struggle with it the first time. I remember that, and then I remembered that about the first one, so I stood outside like right before the cutscene starts and emptied all of my guns. Because I was like, I don't want to kill Maria. Silent Hill's right. Maybe he does deserve to be punished. I don't want to have to fight this lady. So then I emptied all my guns, and then I walked into the battle, and then she just kind of fell over, and then you have to stomp her out with your boot. But like, you got to finish the game.
Easy way to the worst ending,
Yeah.
apparently. Yep. I don't think there's any way we can like make moral judgment on a fantasy character of which we don't actually know
No.
or whatever. Like we're like, but like it's, there, real world situations are horrible, so on and so forth. We're not really trying to talk about that, but it is very weird to sit there with that, like you're talking about, like, and we all of us having to go through that, and like, man, Maria's right. Like this guy's got to be punished, and I think that there's like it's weird to have to be in that guy's shoes. You don't like it, you feel uncomfortable, and that's one of the things that continues with this game, is how uncomfortable so much of it is, how it's really just always putting you in these masterful awkward situations, whether it be the dialogue or just the areas that you're in. Like none of them are very like, even the most safest place is really a place that's by its nature a little uncomfortable, like going to a strip club. Like that's not where you want to feel the safest at.
You don't speak for all of us, Al.
All right. I don't know. I guess as good Christian Americans, we don't want to like be in that strip club.
I have been friends with quite a few dancing folk.
Oh, there you go.
There can be fun there.
Oh, I'm sure no, I'm not saying that.
There can be good Christian comfort.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like as from a gameplay perspective,
no. Yeah.
Like, and from a really like, because I don't know, man. I've never been to a strip club personally. There's been a few times when we've had bachelor parties, we've thought about it, but it's like, man, the last thing all of us want to do is drink alcohol and be vaguely horny around each other. It just seems like a bad time. Let's just go to a whiskey bar.
But to be fair, it's a there's no one else there. It is just you and this woman that you picked up in this town full of monsters. That there's, for some reason, there's still a little musical ambiance going on.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're surrounded by the homies. You're just.
It's like you and Eddie took refuge.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's not you and Eddie in Heaven's Night, okay? That would be a little weirder. Unless you were just sitting at the bar and like nobody touched the stripper pole,
Yep.
But he's a frat boy, so you don't know. He could be like, James, look at this.
James, check me out, yo. Oh, no, Eddie, why? But I'll ask this, like, I felt personally like I didn't spend enough time with the town itself, despite it being such a big bad opener when you get there. And the nighttime town was probably one of my favorite parts. I have a top favorite for sure for the game. But like, what do you guys find to be like your favorite area, or like the area you were just like, oh, this isn't fun, or this wasn't enjoyable, or it wasn't anxiety inducing in the right way?
I really hated the underground parts where you just didn't have a map, and like James would sort of draw out his own map, but it was hard to decipher the map, so you're just fumbling through weird hallways or just bland hallways.
Yeah. The labyrinth part, the one in the historical society,
yeah. And I really hated that puzzle with the faces.
Really?
Which one?
Yeah, the one where you
The
flip the room, the face cube.
Yeah. It
yeah.
moves to move the room around. Yeah.
Well, actually, because I think that could be a fun question. What were everybody's favorite puzzles then? Because I love the Hangman one, the one with all the bodies.
Oh yeah, that was so
That
cool.
one is one of my favorites because it's so cool.
I love Trick or Treat. I
Oh,
adore
come
that.
on.
Oh
That's not even fair to
yeah.
include.
No, I
That's
guess
the
not, but like
best.
it's
Yeah.
so good.
It's so good. Yeah.
Yeah, I love like a
Uh,
little bit of game show wackiness in the middle of my horror games. Like, oh, we've got our contestant, James Sunderland. Well, hopefully he'll get these questions correctly, or who knows what'll happen. Oh.
Yeah.
I got so excited listening to it because I'm like, oh wait, actually I know all the answers to this one.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I'm still in the just haunted, abandoned hospital, but by gum, I'm gonna win a prize.
Yeah. This made this awful hospital experience so much more fun.
Yeah. Oh man, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, if it wasn't that one, I'm trying to think of another one that's like actually really any good. Like the music box one isn't too bad.
Yeah.
I don't think that one's at the very end though, and a little bit like it's hard to actually think of what big bad puzzles there are. Like there's the coin one, which I feel kind of neutral about. Like I don't know. I'm trying to think of anyone that really hits me. I know I kind of liked the room on the cube actually, oddly enough.
Yeah, I thought that, but I really liked the labyrinth. I hated it the first time I played it, and I really appreciated it pretty much every time after that. Once I kind of understood it a little bit better, and the cube being part of that, I don't mind it.
I'm with you, Kit. Like the entire like historical society, like from start to finish, like going in the hole,
Yeah,
finding out you're in a prison, all of that is my favorite part of the game. At least for this playthrough, actually, I loved it. I was like, oh man, it just because this is the weird thing that I was getting with on this playthrough anyway. Because I went through the apartment buildings, which are great for atmosphere. I think anyway, and then I went to the hospital, and it wasn't different enough from the apartment building, and and that tedium was really setting in a big bad way to the point I
yeah,
was like, I don't know if I like this game anymore. I'm worried that I don't like this game. But when I got out of the hospital, I got into the nighttime town and I got to the historical side. I was like, nope, it's a fun game. Into this game, never mind. All of it faded away.
yeah,
Oh god, I loved all of the atmosphere in the prison too, especially when you're walking through the cell blocks and there
Yeah.
are just
yeah,
monsters inside the cells that you just can't get to, but you know they're there.
Ugh.
yeah.
And they're just
And
making it go off. Oof.
yeah, because those are invisible monsters that that they're vibing. They
Yep.
are
Yeah.
chilling. I agree. I feel like, especially because of the tonal shift between there's the apartment and the hospital that are very similar to that is it feels very different. I always felt very tense in the historical society, and then it turns into something that God somehow it's worse. I think that is the strongest part of the game
Yeah.
because it's
Oh,
a
and
really good contrast.
my favorite scare was in the prison. You get to you This is one of the few places in Silent Hill you can go into the bathrooms. You
Hmm.
can knock on one of the stalls in the ladies'
Yeah,
room, and
yeah.
as you go to leave, somebody knocks back.
Hmm. Yeah. See, because it's little things like that I love.
Oh
I
man,
love.
one of my favorite parts was like going back to there was a hole here and it's gone now into that
Mhm.
room once it's dark
Yeah.
and you get the message on the wall that's like it's like she's gone, James is like do you want to follow her, but you might not go to the same place she is, will you, James? It's like oof,
Mhm.
f
Yeah.
Yeah.
like that was
Which
so
that
creepy.
because I definitely I saw that on my first playthrough, and that was another one of those things where I was like, James, you did some shit. What'd you do?
Yeah.
What'd you do?
Yeah. I will say it was pretty funny. I did watch two other people since we had some time. Actually,
Yeah.
I also want to say this: not a long game, um,
No.
by any far stretch of the imagination. Pretty short. You can get through this you can get through this in a weekend.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. But I would say I was able to watch 2 other people play through it, even though I didn't play through it again myself.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting to see how, like, absolutely, like Falana, these guys were blown away by revealing that James Sunderland had smothered his wife to death.
Yeah.
Just kind of be like, what? But James is so woo soft boy.
Which is that's so incredible to me. Like, I like that. I like that it is possible to go into this game and perceive different little things, and or find, depending on what you find and what you look at, it can completely shift the way that you interpret a character.
Yeah.
Like, that is an
yeah.
incredible thing to see in a game, especially one that is as old as this one is.
And I'm very happy to see it hold up as well as it has too. Like, again, I was worried. It was really weird because, like, I was not enjoying hanging out in the town. There was nothing to
Mhm.
explore really. And that's such a shame to say the town part winds up being one of the weaker parts of it. Because that atmosphere is great. And I don't know, like, I don't think they ever fix it, or, like, not fix it, pardon my French. I don't think they ever do anything with the town really. I know there's some stuff in Downpour, if memory serves, where, like, there's
Yeah.
little side quests ish stuff, but even that's not what
Yeah.
I'm looking for, I guess,
Yeah,
because
because that's still not like the town. That's
yeah,
people in the town. That's side stories.
yeah. But that's another thing that's really interesting about Silent Hill 2 is the amount of just information you just find that
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
talks about stuff going on tangentially, that after uh after so much time with Elden Ring, where you just, like, you feel like it's a Dark Souls thing. I got to get this information to figure out what the story is. Like, oh wait, no, you don't. None of this has anything to do with anything. Maybe you get some stuff that pieces other things together. Like, you do get a little bit more of Angela's story out of some stuff, but, like, Walter Sullivan, like, he was not supposed to be anything
And
until they
then
decided he
Silent
was.
Hill 4 happened.
Yeah.
And suddenly he was a
wait.
big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's in Silent
that's
Hill
all
4?
Yes.
Oh.
I will not expand further until we get to play COVID the game.
Oh man, Silent Hill
Over the
4 is
game.
It
ugh.
is a game. I can comfortably say do love that game. I love aspects of that game, but it is a game.
It is. And I really do feel like it gets kind of a bad rap.
Yeah.
Because 3 got by the fact that it was a sequel to 1.
Mhm.
More so than 2 ever was. And I think that that's why people were a lot kinder to it.
Mhm.
Because this game, not to say it undeservedly so, but, like, it has such a high reputation that it would be hard for any game to follow
Mhm.
up after it to be as good as it. And 3 definitely kind of skirted by being a sequel to the first one, and being like, and so it didn't have to draw that comparison immediately. But
Yeah.
4, by having some minor connections to the second one and being a major departure from the formula thus far, I
Yeah.
think really gave it a bad rap, and I don't think it deserves it. I think it's a good game in its own way.
Yeah, it's and it is very different, and I kind of appreciated that we had 1 and 3 that tied together, and 2 and 4 had a little thing to kind of touch them, but they were both attempts at doing something wildly different with the same concept.
Yeah.
So that's I will always have a soft spot in my heart for 4 because it was very different on purpose and it's fascinating.
Yeah, it didn't
And we got
start out as a
Eileen.
Silent Hill game, but
Yeah.
that's fine. Like, not
Yeah.
plenty of Resident Evil games or other projects
Mhm.
weren't intended for the thing that they were until they were, and
Yeah.
it's okay. Yeah.
So overall, how would you rate your vacation in Silent Hill, guys?
10 out of 10 would get spooked again.
I would say I think it's absolutely worthy of the vast majority of the pedigree that it has. I do feel like, and I will stand by, some aspects of the game have not aged well. Um, Although not the controls. We actually
Yeah,
haven't talked about this at all.
shockingly. Oh
But I
yeah.
want to say, like, I was so prepared because I remember them being really janky and bad, and they're not really. They're delayed and awkward, but I never felt like I was dying because it wasn't my like, you know, I actually didn't find myself dying at all, but I never felt like I got hit and it wasn't my fault. But absolutely, like he has a quick turn. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which I always forget that there's a quick turn until I accidentally do it, and I'm like,
Really?
oh wait.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, yeah,
yeah.
that's like really important to be able to
The
use that
only
quick
thing
turn.
that Resident Evil needed that it didn't have.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, besides that, like I would say there are just some aspects about like it's a little overbearing on the ammunition and the healing items. I it's it doesn't it shouldn't be known as the scariest game you can play, because I don't think fear is often the thing that infects you when you
Yeah.
play it. It's far more this sense of anxiety
Yeah.
or just being uncomfortable.
Yeah,
It's a very uncomfortable game to play. I
It's
think more than
tense,
it's
it's
scary.
uncomfortable, it's
Yeah.
anxious.
Yeah, it's
It's
dread.
that yeah, it is a form of horror. But I do feel like, especially nowadays with the horror genre having kind of its renaissance, a lot of games are coming back. We're getting a lot of like good, tense, but still scary Resident Evil games
Yeah.
that sets a mood for people that they might think that they're gonna get like a Resident Evil 7 or a Layers of Fear kind of a situation, when it is an internal discomfort. It is uncomfortable. It is you play it and you're kind of like, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to jiggle this door handle and pray to God it doesn't open. Not and it's
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
like you're anxious more than you are scared.
Yeah.
Like there's just not I other than actually, I can't really think of anything that's a true proper jump scare that happens. There are things that might startle you, like the baby crying in the hospital, but it's not like nothing jumps out at you. It's an auditory thing. The butterfly room, again, it's an auditory, like it tenses you, but nothing's like jumping out at you.
Yeah, there's never like a noise or a cat that jumps out of a locker, a la Silent Hill 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Like, Pyramid Head has some amazing scenes in his first two openers that are very scary.
Mhm.
You know, he's messing up the monsters in the first one, and then you like, I don't know what he's doing in the second time you see him. He's like, it looks like he's halfway eating the damn thing.
Yeah, he
Uh,
he
Yeah.
is doing something I don't think I can say on this podcast.
oh
No,
yeah.
yeah, he's
He looks like
doing
he's doing something.
Oh
he sure is.
no!
He's a real peepee head, he is.
Yeah. My God, guys, we've made it through. Like, we've gone through this entire podcast, but it's like we haven't talked about Pyramid Head almost at all.
I know. I was thinking that a couple of times, and I was like, okay, we're gonna have to end cap with him, because I mean, if you don't mention Pyramid Head, there are those Silent Hill fans that get very upset about that.
That's pretty. Yeah, right. Oh my God.
They won't
Oh,
talk about
no.
Maria's involvement, but by God, you gotta talk about PP Head.
I hate
And
to say
I
it,
do
but
love
like,
Pyramid Head, but
he's really great design.
yeah,
But he doesn't feature as much in the game as you guys apparently think he does. Not you two. I'm talking
Yeah.
out there into the ether to the sound. Like, he's in there and he's great because he's used so little. Like,
Yeah.
he shows up at the apartments, he kills Maria in the hospital, and then he's like, you know, he's kind of hanging around in the prison. He's not really even a boss. He's just like, hey, what's up? You don't come near me.
and you can steal
you can get his
his
knife.
great sword.
Yeah.
It is really
Take-
cool that you can get
yeah.
his knife.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that until I watched Wooly's playthrough. I did.
Oh, yeah,
Oh.
I didn't stumble on it my first playthrough. I did my second, and even though it is big, I'm sure it's big time loss with speedruns, I always like swerve in because I think that's just so cool. You can
Yeah.
pick up the
No,
big
it's
sword.
so fun to just have it. You get to have a Buster sword, like why not?
And so something I wonder if because Al, you might know this, especially if you watched the playthroughs. Falana, I wonder if you picked up on this. You technically can shoot at and attack Pyramid Head, but each time in each boss battle, you can just wait him out, and he'll just leave or kill himself. The
I
boss
wasn't aware
battle
of
is
that.
in his hands.
I wasn't aware of that in the final boss fight where you have the two of them. Like, do you
I
have
am-
to wait? Do you
I am
wait those
gonna.
out?
I am going to fact check myself on that one because I believe you can wait that one out as well if you
I
felt
know you
like
wait.
it.
You wait out the first one, but I I don't remember. I couldn't remember honestly if you waited out for the final two where they just impale themselves on the spear. Which also, again, he has more than one weapon. Like, yeah, the big knife is cool, but like, guys, remember when there were two of them and he had a different weapon that time? I'm just saying.
Yeah, you get
Why
the
is it always got
spear.
to be pyramid guy with a cleaver?
Oh, that's right. It's you have to do enough damage between the both of them,
Got
but
it.
you don't have to attack them both.
All right,
You can just
Okay.
kind of strafe from side to side. That's
got it.
that's it. Oh,
Mhm.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you can cheese the final one in a similar way where you kind of run from corner to corner, just shooting one of them until it hits that threshold, that point value.
Yeah. I mean, again, credit where credit's due. It's a very
Yeah.
like just iconic like
Yeah.
horror character design. Like
Yeah.
he deserves
But
to be up there with like your Jason Voorhees and your Freddy
yeah.
Kruegers.
See, because the thing is, like, even in that, okay, you do for the game mechanics still have to damage them, but you also you don't kill them. They go,
Yeah, they just
okay,
heal
I
themselves.
think you've proved that you want to fight me enough, and that's it.
Yep.
Yeah, and then they're just done.
Yeah, but I do agree. I think he is iconic. I understand why they throw him in the movie. They've thrown him in a couple of games as just kind of existing. And in Origin, I think it was Origins, they tried to do something kind of similar. I don't remember what they called the
They
Pyramid Head
tried to make
equivalent.
it so that if you got the bad ending, the protagonist becomes Pyramid Head, which doesn't make
That
any
was Homecoming,
sense.
yeah.
No, that
Yeah.
wasn't
Oh,
Homecoming.
jeez.
That was
Wasn't that
Origins.
Oh, was that or I
Did
thought
they
that was
do it
Homecoming.
twice?
They have a real person be Pyramid Head?
It's complicated or it's not that complicated. Um they try to explain it in lore, they try to expand upon it, and I get what they're kind of going for. But huh. Uh
Because Origins, you have the not Pyramid Head guy as the antagonist, and like, and if you get the bad ending with Origins, the truck driver I think becomes him. Like,
well,
I know
no,
there's
Homecoming definitely okay. You become a boogeyman, a Pyramid Head in Homecoming. Let me check out Origins too. Did they do it twice and I just never got that Origins ending?
oh my god,
Was I living in a world where they didn't do it twice?
oh.
I'm sorry. We're pausing the podcast for a second. This is very important.
Very important.
We gotta
Yeah.
know.
No, see, okay, I think it might be a Travis is the Butcher, which is his Pyramid Head. So I guess they kind of did it twice. Travis Butcher ending. No, not the Quarry. Silent Hill.
Different franchise.
What is? I'm just just let me click through the video then.
It's fine.
Oh.
We'll edit this. It's okay.
Yeah. Wait, I see him. He's strapped to a table. There's flashing lights in his face. Okay, so it kind of he's a butcher, which is again the Pyramid Head equivalency.
Okay. So they sort of double dipped a
They
little
kind
bit.
of double dip like on 2 games back to back.
Yeah.
Konami, come
Yeah.
on.
Hmm.
You can't let them double dip like that.
Yeah.
Man.
But it's like it's kind of a shame. Like you really wanted them to like really nail it again, like they did with this one. Like really just kind of like a Silent Hill 2 got the vibe so well, and I do feel like it is a flawed experience. I feel like that dip down, especially in the hospital. The hospital is one of the iconic places for Silent Hill. So it's really weird for me to be sitting there being like, this is not scary or fun. So it's weird to be in that situation. I feel like they could have done this again. This shouldn't have been so hard to hit right, because, and I don't know if they were so scared of trying things new after 4 went down, or like Team Silent was like, well, we told the stories we wanted to and we're out, or it was a massive misunderstanding by Western developers, which I assume is the right answer to these questions.
I have a feeling it was more a misunderstanding, which I understand people being very concerned with the remake for that reason. That
Yeah.
it is they
Oh,
put Silent Hill
yeah.
2 in Western hands technically, you know, and it even though Konami is overseeing it, they are checking in a lot. they have to get a lot of stuff approved.
Wait,
And the
Konami
team...
makes video games?
no. They oversee occasionally the things that their pachinko machines are made about.
But I'm assuming we've watched the trailer for this, right?
I have.
I
Have you
actually
yet?
didn't see it because I didn't want to spoil myself.
Oh no, that's absolutely fair. Yeah.
Okay. Do we want to take a little second break, and I'll link it, and
Yeah, for sure,
we can watch it real quick?
Yeah, go for it. But yeah, it looks like a really good trailer. I don't know, man. I'm very tentative about it for sure, as I'm sure everybody is. But James is not really the same character, or at least doesn't look like it, which I also appreciate.
Different.
Yeah. It looks like they are leaning more into the depression, which I'm okay with. Depending again on the kind of story beats that they decide to lean into and what changes they make to kind of make sure that anxiety, like that feeling, that overall feeling of being kind of in an anxious, depressive slump. They gotta, if they capture that in a way that complements this interpretation of James, I'll be okay with that.
Yeah. He's much more everyman than he is the like so soft, how could I do anything? Why gun though? Like character that he was, like the really awkward, bizarre person that he was in too. And I guess they made him much more real in what appears to be this trailer. But I don't know if that's a good thing. Like part of what made this very artsy, for lack of a better term, is just how surreal everyone and everything was, and that felt very intentional. And I think it was to sort of ground that. I don't know if you're gonna get the right effect, or if it'll just come off as kind of average.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I want James to act more real, because I mean, in this game, I feel like he's sort of fumbling around, like, I'm gonna find my wife, maybe, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, but something like, I think this is one of those things where a remake in some ways can create problems that weren't there initially, because I think this kind of problem of having an HD remastered edition kind of a thing, where the intention is to add details to something that did well in that vagueness and that kind of flourished in that early 2000s era where this was the only game kind of like this, and the graphics were, especially compared to today, a little fuzzier, and you could get away with a bit more. When you take something like that and you kind of put it under this like 8K magnifying glass, there can sometimes be too many details. And so that's why I'm very interested, and I'm gonna approach this game the same way that I approached Shattered Memories, the Silent Hill game Shattered Memories, which it was a reimagining of the first Silent Hill game that was very, very different. And from the get-go, you could tell it was gonna be really different. Like, once you load into the game, you're like, okay, they are going for a complete reimagining. They have said they want to be true to the original game. And my only concern is I hope that doesn't bring too much light to some things that maybe should be more vague and kind of hidden in the shadows.
I'll be honest, I don't know how because we talked about having to sit with killing your wife for a while. If this guy is like a real dude, not like some like kind of weird not character that like popped out of a Twin Peaks episode, like it's gonna be really weird to sit there having watched him kill not a cartoon character but like a real person with a pillow, and like just like, I killed her, holy crap. I don't know how I don't know how you continue the game after that, because it's like, oh, fuck this guy. Like it's a little bit easier when everything is so surreal and weird, and like, oh, what does that mean though? It's a little bit more interpretive. here, like when everything's so actually happening, like I guess some movies pull it off. I don't know. I could be talking out of my ass here. Like I really feel like that protagonist is that much harder, and he's dealing with it because he goes into that sink and starts washing his hands and being like, oh!
Yeah, I feel like it really detracts from the dreamlike quality that the whole thing had. So
Yeah.
I'll approach it with caution.
Yeah.
And something, and again, this is, maybe a game theory, maybe theory crafting, maybe Bloober Team. Somehow you go back in time and hear this podcast before the game comes out. I don't know. um, I hope that, because they claim that they are very big Silent Hill fans, that they, like most people on the dev team consider themselves to be big Silent Hill fans that love Silent Hill 2. I hope they take advantage of Maria and her role, because even if James's character is very real, if you have something that is right there that is destabilizing him as a character and thus you as a player, that could be something that could kind of help out with that dreamlike quality. And they are benefited a bit by the fact that a lot of, not necessarily like fans, but a lot of players of the game that enjoy this game do kind of overlook Maria's purpose and Maria's place in the entirety of Pyramid Head and Silent Hill and James and Mary.
Yeah.
Um, so that could be such a great place for them to try to take advantage, of discomfort and kind of use that character as a way to kind of upset and unsettle things. But only time is going to tell.
I think that that's absolutely true, because if you start like, because in here it's weird, but everything's weird. But if you're in a sort of grounded situation that's horrific and monsters, and you encounter a character that's kind of like, but what if we bone though? That's gonna like be really unsettling. Like it's like, what are you like? Why are you asking me about this? I'm not really like, as a player and as a character, they can easily be made to feel uncomfortable, and like sort of feed into a lot of what's going on with that, and maybe make a lot of the situations a little bit more palatable if you have a character who's sort of sells all of those emotions that the character has throughout the rest of this, which is like, hey, there's this girl, we gotta rescue this thing, like I'm making you punishing for your sins, and also, hey, I'm hot though, right?
Yeah. See, because there's two specific things with Maria again, and not to be talk too much about her. There's two specific things that kind of, I feel, go a bit under the radar because everything's weird in the original, that they could hopefully lean more into and create more impact with, that Maria does. And that's in the initial, when he first meets her, and she hits him with the, like, she kind of deadpans and she hits him with the, or maybe you hated her. And then immediately it's just like, oh, I'm just joking. And James doesn't really have a reaction. Like, his character model kind of backs up and then just continues on like she didn't just say that. And then the second time is when you find her in the hospital and she's reacting as if she had just come back after that. She gets killed by Pyramid Head in the hallway, and she's screaming about, how could you leave me? I was afraid, I almost died. And it is kind of like she's almost a little bit ahead of her script. If they lean into that kind of jarring disconnect, because that just kind of plays off as oh, what a weird thing that she just did. She's yelling about nothing. When, like, if you played that scene after the murder in the elevator, it makes sense. So, like, they have things that her character has done that I feel didn't quite land as well as they could have because of how weird things were.
Yeah.
That might land better if this is a more straight-laced human being, James.
I love that idea though, of like some of her scenes being out of order. Like that
Yeah,
is,
that's interesting.
that would
Yeah.
be really cool if they leaned into that a little bit more. Because like you don't leave her really. She's in the room. She's like, hey, I gotta chill out, and then she comes in like, I almost died. Why'd you? I was like, what?
Yeah. Why did you leave me in that hallway? I almost
Which
died.
which didn't make sense until you just explained it to me. Now I'm like, whoa! Like, yeah, like they
Yeah.
really, like that would really, really work.
Yeah. Go
I feel
listen
like,
to that scene again, thinking about exactly the words coming out of her mouth. Yeah.
yeah,
Which is, again, it's one of those cool little things that does sometimes get overlooked by some people. Especially if you only play the game once, you just like, oh, she's crazy. She's just yelling at me. She's stressing me out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ah, man. So much good about this game as far as like little Easter eggs, things you can look into. The game itself is actually a lot more playable than people give it credit for. It's brilliant in atmosphere, as we've all discussed. I don't think that I think we've sung its praises quite a bit. I think we can certifiably say like there's some things that don't hold up, at least, and I feel like I've been the only detractor on here, and I'm very sorry.
Yeah, but
But like,
I do agree with you. There are like the town isn't for everybody. I think Maria is a fine escort mission, but I do understand the complaints that some people have because she's not as intuitive as like someone like Ashley. Like I will stand by. I think Ashley is one of the easiest and most fun escort companions in video
without a
games
doubt,
of that era because
yeah.
you can tell her to jump in a dumpster and she will stay there until you whistle for her like a dog. And I love that with an escort mission. I don't got to worry about anything. I just
Yep.
throw her in a trash can. She's fine.
But like
Oh no! Meanwhile,
but-
I was running into Maria constantly.
Yeah.
Get out the way.
She's very easy to run into or accidentally shoot, especially in the hospital.
yeah.
So yes, but she can be. I understand the complaints.
Yeah. But yeah, there's so much. But I really enjoyed this trip into this, my wife is dead type of content. I almost so much so that I feel like we should continue this. I think we've.
I hope you don't mean the killing your wife part.
Well, no.
Coming soon. My dead
But-
wife.
Al, I think you might have learned the wrong lesson.
No. I'm like beyond that though. I think
Where'd you get that pizza, Al?
I think there is some meat on this particular bone on this like there are, rather than going on a year, I feel like we should continue on with this type of theme of like these sort of horror themes with a bit of a romance undertone to them. And we'll see.
Are you sure you don't mean something maybe getting a remake?
Well, there are a lot of horror games getting remakes that are coming out next year besides just Silent Hill 2.
Yeah.
And
And then have weird romance.
Yeah. So I think that we'll convene next time, and one of us will pitch a different game from this very specific genre.
Yeah.
Games coming out in the year of 2023. Sorry, horror games that are getting remade in the year of 2023 that have a romance element to them.
Yeah. No matter how little or big.
Yeah, but like
We'll find it. We'll find it.
Yeah.
We'll
We'll
make it happen,
return
everybody.
with more of My Dead Wife. But until then, good night, everybody.
Good night.
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.